You learn a lot with every single deal, and you never know everything. You never will. And real estate's one of those industries where curveballs come in no matter how much planning you do.
This is the Multifamily Journey Podcast, show 42, which was my college football number. So you know it's going to be a good episode.
You're listening to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. In this show, you'll hear industry experts share tips of success and failure from their real estate investing journeys. You'll get a transparent look behind the curtain while you learn to fulfill the lifestyle you want to live and achieve your wealth goals. Get ready for the journey to financial freedom through investing in multifamily real estate. Here's your host, Blake Dailey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. It's good to be bringing back another episode. These have been a little bit less consistent lately because I've been doing a lot of things for the new business. We've got 3 new BRRRR and B projects, big commercial motels, like 14 to 18 units that we're doing the BRRRR strategy on and converting to short-term rentals. All 3 of those are in different stages. And I've got one myself that's 8 units that I'm working on. And with all 4 of those projects, it's been busy. So trying to get in the podcast when I can, but had a freaking awesome podcast tonight with Shelby Osborne, celebrating big episode 42. That was my college football number. So that's a good number for me. One of my favorite numbers. So this is a good episode. And Shelby is a straight real estate rock star. She's killing it. She's been investing for about the last 4 or 5 years and has had massive success. Started out as a real estate agent and was the top selling agent her first year in both North and South Carolina combined. So tons of experience there. She's built up her real estate team. She's a broker, so she's got agents working with her, is doing a ton of deals on that side. And then she also has 74 units herself. And she's doing the BRRRR B&B strategy as well with residential properties. And she's got some rental arbitrage stuff going on. Then she's in commercial multifamily, single family with her holdings. So she is in a lot of different things. And she talks about how she got there with systems by just being an absolute grinder, taking her Army mentality. She has an Army background and taking that kind of work ethic into the real estate investing, just hitting the agent side and the investing side full force once she got out of the Army in 2018. And since then has built up a really cool portfolio. She actually helped me get started kind of building the first systems that I built with my Airbnb business. So thank you, Shelby, for that. But this is a really awesome podcast. She throws out a ton of value. This is one that you probably want to take notes on because she throws out so many good things. I mean, she's packed so much experience in the last 4 or 5 years that she's an awesome resource. And definitely check her out on Instagram and her Five Pillars Real Estate Group. They give out a lot of content and value and do meetups and stuff like that. So if you want to catch up with Shelby, you can do that there. But let's get into the episode. Shelby, welcome to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, awesome. This is a great way to end a Monday, have some excitement here and talk about real estate. So I'm super pumped. But before we dive into like the real estate investment stuff, why don't you just give people a little bit of background about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up an Army brat, moved all over the world, went to college, University of South Carolina, had no interest in real estate whatsoever. Also had very little interest in the Army, but that's where I ended up. I did ROTC for 4 years because they would pay for my school. And then I owed them 4 years in return. And my first duty station was Fort Lewis, Washington, out there on the West Coast. And I bought a condo because my dad told me that, paying my own mortgage is better than paying someone else's. And I was like, okay, that's kind of smart, Dad. Sure.
Yeah, smart.
So I used my VA loan and I got a condo and I just lived in it. Still no thought of investing whatsoever. And then I PCS moved to Fort Bragg was my next duty station. And if anyone knows anything about Fort Bragg, it is known as the center of the universe. Everyone in the Army thinks it's such a big deal. And they were getting crazier and crazier. And I was like, not sure this is where I want to be for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so I started looking at other options and paid attention to that property in Washington, which I didn't run numbers on, nothing. And it ended up cash flowing, even with a giant HOA fee. So that was nice. And then I stumbled into some Robert Kiyosaki, not Rich Dad, Poor Dad like everyone else. It was the business of the 21st century, actually, with that cash flow quadrant.
That's the multi-level marketing one, right? And then
yes. Well, dude, it's because I was approached by Amway probably like almost everyone else in Fayetteville and Fort Bragg. I don't know. Have you ever been approached by the multi-level marketing people?
Yeah. Like just being in the military, I think it's like a rite of passage. Like somebody tries selling you something and then you get into it and they like pitching you like, oh my gosh, I got to start doing this. I'm going to be rich in a year or two.
Exactly. I was like, oh, I'm going to do it. And then I went to a couple of meetings. I was like very culty. I was like, not going to do this, but this book is cool. And I learned that I was an employee and I wanted to be an investor in that quadrant, and then real estate came to, bigger pockets started showing up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go balls to the wall towards this. And I decided to get out, get my real estate license, pursue investing. Investing was always my focus. And then I got my real estate license because it was really nested in my goals. And I was like, I need some way to make money. So sure. And then all of that came together, and fast forward 3 years later, and I've got some properties, agent life, team, lots of things, which I'll talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how like at the beginning, you read the second book in the series of the Kiyosaki books, and it's Cash Flow Quadrant. And if the people out there haven't read it yet, that one is probably like more, nuts and bolts of what to go do. And you're talking like on the left side is self-employed and employed, which you don't want to be because you get taxed to make the least. And then on the right side, you have like the business owner and investor, which is what you wanted to get. So right off the bat, you jumped into the agent life and investing. So that's super smart. So Cash Flow Quadrant, that's a really great book. But from there, jumping into the agent life, was that your main focus right off the bat? Or were you trying to buy properties, or they kind of work in tandem? Because I see a lot of people start in one and like get into the other.
Yeah, I was balls to the wall in both, like no chill. So I got my license.
Full army mentality. You can do it all.
Yeah, exactly. Nearly died. It's fine. No, my first year as an agent, I did really well as an individual agent. And I was the Keller Williams Rookie of the Year for all of North and South Carolina. So I did really well.
Which is huge. I mean, that's like a big market, like North and South Carolina. That's
and the cool thing about it is that it was based on volume, which is crazy because the Fayetteville prices, like my average sales price that first year was like $135,000, and I was competing against like the Charlotte and the Raleigh.
You brought in the Amway skills of just talking to everybody and say, hey, let's buy a house or sell a house.
Seriously, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. These people are listening to me. Okay, cool. Let's do it. No, it was really great that first year as a solo agent. And then I also, by the end of my first year, had 16 doors. So I did both. And then
all right, so we definitely got to break into that. I did not know this. This was skipped over when we met last year and talked about kind of how we both got into it. So how'd you go from being an agent and getting 16 doors that first year on top of being the top selling Keller Williams agent, or the rookie or whatever, the first the strongest first year? How did all that come to be?
Not a lot of sleep, lots of tears. No, just kidding.
I feel you right now. That's like the life I'm living right now. There's just not enough time in the day for sure.
Not enough time. So right as I was getting out of the military, I got my license and I bought a duplex so I had that one condo. And then, after listening to some bigger pockets, I was like, multis, one purchase, multiple doors. Cool. So I bought a duplex and I bought it convention turnkey, 25% down. That thing was only $75,000. And after I was done with the purchase, I was like, hot damn, I can't do that many times because
I think somebody would like fight in the streets for a deal like that today, like $75,000 for a turnkey duplex.
Yeah. And I was just checking the numbers the other day. My property manager she emailed me and was like, hey, it rented now for $795 on one side. So I have $795 on the one side and like $725.
Over a 2% rule right now.
Yeah. I'm like, well, it was at the very end of 2017, I got out of the military in 2018. And the deals don't exist like that anymore. Totally different market in Fayetteville. So I bought that conventionally 25% down, realized that my money, I needed to be smarter with it. In order to acquire as many doors as I wanted. And so the next one, I used my VA loan again and I got a quad. So then that's 4 more doors. And after that, I stopped getting my W-2 paychecks. And so the banks were like, we're not going to give you money. I was like, oh shit.
Which is like where your real estate investing career has to stop, right? Because if you can't get traditional financing, you can't buy anymore.
Yeah, right. Okay.
What'd you do to overcome it? Because that's where I was talking to somebody at work the other day, and they were having that same problem. Had like a house, but now their debt to income ratio didn't support
Right.
it. So they couldn't buy another property and they wanted to get that next investment property. So what did you do to get past that point?
I personally used my sphere of influence. So I raised private capital. I used private money for my next 3 deals, which was a single family burr, a duplex burr, and then a 6-unit apartment complex burr. So that equals out to the 16 doors. And they were all private money burrs, burr deals. And I still do that. That's still my primary thing. And I also, in the beginning, I was like, oh, hard money, that's so expensive and scary. And now I'm just like, bro, they'll give me money. And then as long as the numbers work, like I'm cool with it.
As long as you can float the interest and get your money back on the refi or the sale, then hard money.
Exactly. And I'm still to this day, like surprised that I keep, like, I just finished, I think 5 in the past, like 3 months refinances, because in my first couple of years, I had several that were on 15-year notes that were adjustable rate mortgages. And I'm like, holy shit, like their interest rates are so good right now. Like I need to get everything that's adjustable into a 30-year fix like now. And so I've been like churning them out, but it still blows my mind that I'm like, how am I still getting loans? Like this is crazy. But LLCs, that's the point. Just put them in LLCs.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. And I think like what you said kind of at the beginning of that was you use your sphere of influence, which like most people downplay completely because they're not going out and talking to those people, but they're there. It's through networking, it's through talking with family and friends. Your buddy who wants to buy a property too, and you guys can combine forces. Maybe they don't have their loans maxed out so they can get a loan in their name.
Totally.
And it's just thinking creatively. Like a book I always recommend to people in that position is the book on investing in real estate with low and no money down by Brandon Turner.
I remember that one.
I've done like 10 of the 12 things in there because like just out of straight necessity, like I was like you in the beginning, I didn't have enough money. I was like a year out of college, like fresh in the game, had like $1,500 in my bank account. I was like, all right, how can we go buy more properties? And it's by using other people's money with good deals. The numbers have to work, which is a little bit harder today, but that's where your diligence and where you make your money as an investor by going out there and putting the work to find really good properties. So that's awesome. So that first year you had the condo, the duplex, and the quad. And those were the ones that you used as like primary residences and got the better loans. And then from that point on, like 7 units up to 16 is all private money, just recycling and doing burrs at this point, right? You're a year into it and already starting with burrs.
It's the most logical in my mind. It's like if you want to do more and you want to go quickly, you got to recycle those funds because it's not every day that you're going to find someone to give you money. So you got to churn it.
It's velocity money. And if you can like continue to do, if you're burning and continue to do more deals and you'll have 1 or 2 investors, and if they have their money in, 2 deals, you're out of money right there. So if you can recycle it, like that same investor can keep investing. So
totally.
How did you go about doing those rehabs? It sounds like you were full time at this point, but did you have any like the duplex or the condo or the 4-unit up to that point where those
were
turnkey? Have those yourself or what were you doing?
So the condo, the duplex, and the quad were all turnkey. So I didn't have to do any renovations. Really, I did a little bit, but I didn't do much. But the next 3 that were the burrs, I had a partner. My partner was a contractor. So we did those together, and he did the renovations and I did the raising of the capital and the keeping everything on track and planning and all of systems. That's me. So
I love it. That's another really important point because you don't have to do everything. There's like parts to each deal. If you're doing bird deals, like you have the financing, you have the rehab, you have, the underwriting, everything that goes into it, but you don't have to bring every piece. If you find the deal and can bring the money and somebody else can manage the rehab,
right.
That's what makes a good partnership. So I think that's really cool that you found that.
And that's what I say to people that frequently who want to try to do it all. It's like, no, think about your strengths and then double down on your strengths. Find someone whose your weaknesses are their strengths and partner. Like it just makes sense. And everyone's where they're naturally supposed to be for their natural ability to excel in that position. Don't try to force something you're not good at.
And I think at the beginning, I was definitely in that boat, trying doing everything myself and was doing all the stuff I didn't like. And all those things that I wasn't good at just felt heavy. So I wasn't like enjoying the whole process, but there's a few parts like acquisitions. I love talking to sellers and buying property in that whole piece. And then, the renovation process, like creating value, taking something old and ugly and making it into this really cool product that people are going to pay a lot more for now. Like that whole process is really fun to me. but all the other stuff, like I just don't enjoy it. So I'm like fortunate now that I have a partner on the new commercial deals. He loves doing the details and the finance and all that kind of stuff. And I can just focus on the operations. And we kind of split acquisitions a little bit because we both brought deals. That's so important. Like if you're in that position where you can't find deals, it's like, or if you can't, put the whole puzzle together, go find your other puzzle pieces and partners. And when you were doing that at the beginning, how were you finding these people? Like, did you go through like big partnership agreements, or was it like, hey, we're kind of on the same track, let's join?
That's totally it. I stumbled into it. Like looking back now, and not that I'm that much better with my partners now. Like I'm mostly what I do and what I did back then, which was kind of not so great, but you're right. We were on the same track. Like, so there's not that many people who are hungry and hustlers and motivated towards the same goal, and like who wake up at 4:30 in the morning, like you up, like, yo, let's go, And so he was that person for me. And still like great, but moved away from that partnership after. You learn what, you learn a lot with every single deal, and you never know everything. You never will. And real estate's one of those industries where curveballs come in no matter how much planning you do. So, that was that first partnership for that first year. And since then we haven't done deals together. We're still like good and friends and stuff, but it's just, I found that I need different things in partners.
Oh man, that's good stuff, because I found myself in the same kind of boat, like found partners at the beginning who are like really great, learned a lot from, and just, you talk about the stumbles. It wasn't like a fall flat on your face, but just like you said, it was like a stumble, and you learn from that and readjust going forward. And now like your partnerships that come later down the road, you learn from them and they're stronger. But at the beginning, it's so important to take. And I love your enthusiasm about it. You're like, yeah, I just stumbled, figured it out.
Well, I mean,
that's what you have to do, I think so.
I hear that all the time, where they're just like trying to do all of this research up front to make sure everything's perfect. And I'm like, no, just go, just freaking do it. Like, you've already researched for 2 years longer than I did before my first deal. And like, don't get me wrong. Like, I read books, I listened to podcasts, like I did my due diligence, but there's no better way than to get out there and live it. So
I absolutely love that. Cause you gotta go make it happen. Like, you're never gonna score without taking your shot. You gotta, whatever that quote is, just made up a new one, the slang one. But yeah, that's super important. It's just the action of making it happen. So I love that was a big key for you in the beginning. And speaking of the sales side, like from the agent perspective, before we dive back into the investment side of things, I wanted to ask, because you sell a ton of real estate with your team, and you have a lot of deals come across. What are you seeing in the residential real estate market right now? Is it still like hot, or are we getting to a point of like cooling off? Like, what are you seeing?
I haven't seen the cooling off yet. I've heard it on the internet. People are talking about it.
Doom and gloom. You always read about like the sky falling.
Yeah, totally. But it is freakishly hot out there in both Fayetteville and Charlotte. We have teams in both markets. And it is like the due diligence fee. Well, so the deposits, I don't know. They don't have due diligence, I don't think, across. Are you in Florida? Is that
Florida? Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So I don't know if they have due diligence fees in Florida. It's like the cohort of earnest money. Do you guys just have earnest money? I
don't know exactly. It might be something different, but like in Florida, they put down their earnest money, and like any due diligence costs either get, like the inspection stuff either get wrapped up in closing, or the sellers or the buyers would pay out of pocket.
Okay, gotcha. So basically it's just a non-refundable deposit. That would be a way easier way to say it, are just creeping higher and higher and higher. And then, $15,000,
so it's like whether they close the deal or not, like their earnest money is in the
there. Deal. The minute that the contract is fully executed, so both parties sign, that deposit, the due diligence fee is due, and it's non-refundable. No matter what happens, that seller keeps that money. And so
it's kind of like what's been happening in the multifamily market for a long time. Since I've been in commercial, is kind of hard money on the line from day one. There's like kind of a time in COVID where it went away because, sellers just wanted to sell that were in the market to sell. But since like last fall, it's been hard money on almost every commercial deal. So now it's getting so hot in residential. It's the same thing.
So yes, the same thing. Plus people are bidding, huge way over the list price, and then they'll do appraisal gaps. So it used to be back in the day, it would be like, oh, we'll just bid over. And then when the appraisal comes in lower, the seller will drop the price. But that day is kind of
now
gone.
The buyers have to cover the gap, right?
The buyers are covering gaps now, like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000.
They're paying over market value, basically.
Exactly. They're so underwater.
Yeah. But at the same time, probably like, do you do act as the buyer's agent or the seller's agent?
I only list now, and I do very few listings because the agents work with the clients. I'm more operations, management systems, vision, which I don't want to really work with. Definitely not buyers. Holy shit.
Yeah. I was going to say, like in the seller's agent's defense, like on that appraisal gap, the appraisals I think are kind of lagging behind the true demand in the market. So you're not seeing the appraisals reflect probably what the true value is, because really the value in the residential market is based on comps, which is what somebody's willing to pay. So if something else is selling for that high, ideally, or like, theoretically, the appraisal should come in at that value, but they're still like, I don't know if appraisals are being more conservative or trying to slow down the market because they're in the market to buy something, but that's been a problem here in Florida in the Panhandle, just because there's not very much supply.
Right. Dude, markets are just crazy everywhere. This is nuts.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I'm trying not to buy. It sounds really bad. Trying not to buy right now, but there still are deals. I don't know they're like mostly off market. I'm not finding any of them.
Yeah, I think you have to go direct to seller right now, because if anything hits the market, like there's 15 million people trying to buy, and everybody's got, they all saved up their stimulus checks to put down hard-earned money. Are you buying anything right now, or have you bought anything in the last couple of months? If so, like what was different maybe with those deals you bought?
I have, even though I keep saying I'm not going to buy anymore. But
I catch myself in the same conundrum.
Right. Well, so it's still a deal. If it's still a deal, I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'll just do it. I have several partners now, because I'm not really I'm not going direct to sellers. Like I'm not making the calls. I'm not riding the streets, like driving for dollars or at the courthouse looking for deals or anything. But I'll have people who come to me and they're like, hey, this is a deal. Do you want to do it? So I have a lot of that going on. And the ones that I've done recently is a single family B in Fayetteville. I have a flip that should go live the next 2 weeks in Charlotte, and then a house hack B in Charlotte too. But then after that, I'm not going to do anymore. Okay.
Until the next deal comes. I'm in the same position. Me and my partner have been like seeing good deals, and we're like, oh, we got to pace ourselves because we have like 3 big projects, and I have an additional, so 4. And it's like, man, there's just not enough time. But
the contractors bottleneck. I don't know what your bottleneck is, but ours is certainly contractors, especially in Charlotte. In Fayetteville, I have my team locked down in Fayetteville, but I moved to Charlotte.
A bigger network there for sure.
Exactly.
That's how I am in Panama City right now. Like I have several good general contractors and subs that I've worked with, and actually have been continuing to try to build that as I'm doing like little projects and just managing my portfolio overall. But I have a really good general contractor working on our Airbnb right now, who's trust them, have done several deals with them. They've all gone well and come out profitable and all that.
Good.
And they're actually going to do the next one that closes in August, because the rehabs will be at different phases. But yeah, for finding contractors in different markets, I'm in Fort Walton, which is an hour and a half away, and then Tahoe, which is 24 hours away. Those are hard to find. A nightmare, to find reliable ones, especially from a distance and not having boots on the ground.
Totally.
Yeah, contractors are the bane of my existence.
Yeah, no, same. That's literally my life right now is trying to figure out who's going to be.
Yeah. So I don't know if you keep up with your weekly goals, but I have mine over here on my whiteboard. We meet every Tuesday in my mastermind group, and we go over our weekly big rocks, our weekly big 3. And mine's Tahoe deal. And it's got my goal, and then it says the how under that. How are you going to accomplish that goal? And it just says dealing with contractors.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Fort Walton Beach. It's the same thing. Dealing with contractors. Number 3, Panama City Beach. Dealing with contractors. I'm like, holy cow, all my problems right now are contractors.
Right. Yep.
You really eliminated that. But I'm glad I'm not the only one. I wish it was. I wish I was, but
right. That's the other reason why I'm not going to buy anymore. And there's 2 other deals that just turned away because I'm I don't have anyone to do the renovations on them. And so what I'm trying to do right now is I actually have this big ass tracker going through the whole portfolio to try to just optimize it, make it way more efficient, cut costs where you can, utility bills, and then go through I have a assistant and she's wonderful. She's amazing, very detail oriented. So I like sent her every home inspection from like the properties that I bought over the past 3 years. And she's like going and updating the age of the roof, the age of the HVAC, the water heater. So I can like plan all these things and doing like maintenance, like the pest control and the clean the gutters and like all the things that you should do.
The air filters, which
the air filters, all that
thing.
shit.
Yeah.
So that's.
No, that's smart. You know, if you're in a spot where you're not buying, and if you're in that position and you're listening, like what can you do to your current portfolio to make it more efficient, to save more money, to apply towards the next purchase? So I really like that. And one thing I wanted to ask before we kind of transition into the investment stuff, sure. What are some market indicators that you're looking at right now, you know, on the agent side or on the investor side to pay attention to say, all right, it's a buy time, it's a sell time, whatever?
It's the old saying, when everyone else is buying, you should hold back. And when everyone else is scared, you should buy.
Yeah. That's so simple and elegant. And that's exactly why we're buying hospitality properties right now and scooping them up where we can, because everybody thinks hospitality is suffering right now, but they really don't see the data. Like we have Airbnbs, and I'm sure you're having like a record year through the first 6 months so far. And we're the same way.
Yeah, no, they're crushing. I don't want to do anything except for Airbnbs.
It's why I saw my June numbers, and my property manager for like my local deals that I don't self-manage anymore. She prefaced it with like, June was a knockout. And then I opened up the spreadsheet and I was like, oh, I couldn't do anything else, but like, wow, that's crazy.
That's sick.
So
congrats.
Yeah, thanks. I'm hoping once the other ones get up, it's the same thing, but sounds like it's happening with you too. So that's super exciting. If that's the only thing you want to buy, it's probably for a good reason. For sure. That's cool. So we talked about the burn B, which we can kind of get into deeper. And we talked about the single families and the condos. And now that you're involved in, you know, several different asset classes, doing different strategies, all while selling a ton of real estate too. Has all that been just like following your passion on each deal? You know, is it part of the plan to kind of spread it out amongst asset classes, or are you just jumping on those opportunities when they come? Like what are those criteria, the principles you're looking for in these different kind of deals?
It was an experiment. I feel like all of this has just been an experiment to see what I actually like. And it's so when you're just starting out and your goal is like, you know, cash flow, I need financial freedom, I need to escape from either the military or whatever the job is, or I don't want to stop, you know, I don't have to think about money every day for the rest of my life. That's like I take anything I can get all the time. And now where it's not rich by any means, but like I'm not as weighted at all. You know what I mean? And so now I have the opportunity to do what I enjoy doing, which actually I'm lucky that the Airbnbs perform so well. But what I found that I enjoy doing is I do enjoy doing the burn B, because it's like you take this property, it looks like shit. And, you know, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much potential here. And this is amazing. And we can do this here and all this stuff. And like being able to make it a creative, like almost art project and see it from nothing into this beautiful product that you're super proud of. That's like fulfilling. That's going to be my favorite part too. Yeah. Creative. And then, oh, by the way, it also cash flows amazing. So it's like a total win across the board, I think, for the burn B strategy. But I'm glad that I've done other stuff. Like I'm glad I've done turnkey and I have, you know, some multifamilies. My biggest is just an 8 unit. So it's not like anything crazy. But I really do love the burn B. I don't know. Was that the question? Did I even answer it?
Yeah, no, I think you hit most of it there, just kind of like what you look for in your investments and what makes you want to buy. But I think that's really good because what you hit on there is so important. Like when you're in the beginning, you don't really know where your skill sets lie or what you're going to like and enjoy and what your like passion within the niche is. And if you kind of leave yourself open to these opportunities, like opportunities will come to you, especially as you're building out your network. And then through that, you find what you're really good at and what you like doing. And if you can combine what you like and what you're good at, you're going to kill it. And that's what you're doing with Airbnbs. Totally. And if you kind of focus down, everybody, I think, not everybody, but a lot of people will say kind of like keep your blinders on in the beginning. But I think in the beginning, you kind of need to have a wide view and just kind of like absorb everything out there. Like that's how I did really well, because I was like wholesaling, doing direct to seller. I was doing the Airbnb. I was doing, you know, the VA loan, like all that kind of stuff, just kind of strengthen my foundation. And then I could branch out off of that and kind of build. So I like how you advocate that.
it makes you super powerful in any scenario, which I love because it's like, a problem set comes at you here. You have 5 different options that you've personally experienced that you can be like, oh, well, you could do this and then turn it into this. And have you thought about financing this way? Like, it's just your toolkit is very,
adding tools to the tool belt,
exactly. So I love it.
Like the military officer in us. We're just like well-rounded, not like an expert in any way.
Not great at anything.
Good at like several. Then you can at least speak to multiple different things. But yeah, I like that. That's a really good way to answer that, I think. And then speaking of, we've brought this up like kind of throughout the podcast so far, but talking about the Burr and B. So when we first met a year ago, it was at this small real estate investor meetup in Fort Walton Beach. And we're talking about the cool stuff we were both doing. And it happened, it was kind of at the same thing. It was at the infant stages. I think yours was a little bit further along than mine. And you actually gave me some awesome tips at that point, which I'm still using. But we're talking about this Burr B&B or Burr and B strategy. And I think I even called it like Air B and Burr, Air B and Burr at one point.
Yeah.
So I think what we're talking about then is like, we just kind of put like that name to it, combining those 2 strategies, and we've kind of referenced it, but can you talk to why that strategy is like, why you're bullish on it and focusing more on it now?
Sure. Yeah. So it combines the Burr strategy, which is like real estate wide, the most powerful. If you can recycle funds or you can buy a distressed property, put money into it to make it to that standard that you won't have to do repairs over it for a long time, because that's the idea too. It's like you buy the crap property, you put enough into it so that way it's actually like a turnkey, beautiful product at the end. So you don't have to worry about, those capital expenditures or all those
keep
things.
Your costs low, yeah.
Yeah, you're freaking good. And if your numbers are right, you're able to capitalize on all of that forced appreciation that you've done and have this beautiful product. And you're like, yay, I did it. But wait, I can furnish it and then turn it into a short-term rental in which I can capitalize on such a greater return than a long-term fix while, my property is less freaking shit on. That's the wrong word, but it's like my property is in a better condition. Because that's what people say. They're like, oh, we want to get torn up with parties and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, let's think about it. Like, what is your experience in an Airbnb like? You come in on a Friday, you drop your bags, you go to dinner with your friends, whatever, you come back, you crash, you get up, you explore wherever you're at, and then you leave. You're not in the Airbnb the whole time, like with your pets that are, doing all the chewing on the windowsills, or with your kid who's smearing the walls. Like, and then, so not only are you not in it to, create the troubles that long-term tenants, put on properties, but also when they move out, that cleaning crew's coming in with eyes on the property. They're cleaning it. They're saying, hey, here's an issue, which are fixed right away. And they don't have that long-term deterioration.
Yeah. Typically if there's a leak, like you're saying, they catch it day one rather than it like leaking for 4 or 5 weeks and cause a bunch of damage.
So it's like every win in the book, I feel like. And yeah, don't get me wrong. Of course, there's still issues. There's cops called, there's parties, there's things broken, whatever. But on the grand scheme of things, I found far less issues with my Airbnbs than I do with my long terms. And I don't know about you. Have you experienced the same or different?
Yeah, I think I think you broke it down really good, and it kind of dispels the myths because, and you hear the same thing from insurance providers. They make you pay more to have a short-term rental, but it's like, no, you have less wear and tear as a short-term rental. Like you might have to,
tear, that's the term. Oh my God.
Yeah, wear and tear. You might have to replace, furniture if you're not getting high quality stuff right off the bat, but that's like $1,000 expense. That's not then putting holes in the drywall or, breaking your sinks and showers. So you actually have less wear and tear just because, like you're saying, the average stay on Airbnb is like 3 days. Right. So if people are coming in for 3 days, they're coming there to experience the area. So they're going to spend most of their time out and about, experiencing the area. Whereas long-term tenants, they live there. They're in there 8 to 12 hours a day and they're at work the other 8 hours a day.
Right.
And then you also get like the host guarantee, which is like the $1 million that Airbnb provides for hosts. So they provide you up to $1 million of liability for anything that happens, which is another reason insurance should be lower for short-term rentals, but it's not. But I've definitely experienced less maintenance issues in my short-term rentals than I have in my long-term rentals. And because all of my short-term rentals have been full, if not like 90% to full rehabs. So everything's getting redone. All the plumbing fixtures are done, normally new toilets, new vanities. So that stuff isn't going to leak likely, unless they're throwing a bowling ball around in the bathroom.
Right.
So yeah, the wear and tear is definitely less. And you have, like you're saying, you have a nice new product that if you buy a 10-year-old house, you're going to have 10-year-old issues. You're going to have leaks. You're going to have things that break and wear out over time. But if everything's new, you're going to have, a couple years before, the hot water heater starts wearing out or before the AC handler starts going. So yeah, I think for a lot of reasons, it's less on the maintenance staff. Now, on the other side of that, it's more management intensive because you have guests coming and turning every 3 days, whatever your average ends up being. So you have people inquiring every other day about booking your place. So I kind of wanted to get into how you have set up your processes and how your team kind of manages that whole B&B investment management side of it. Sure.
Yeah. So that you're totally right. That I personally have never managed my Airbnbs. I did start off with my long-terms managing up until those 16 doors. And then I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to leverage this out.
In somebody else's hands.
Yeah, totally. But I've never managed any of my Airbnbs. So we have a property manager. It's a nationwide company, Plushie. I don't know who.
Yeah, I actually used them up until like February, and I won't.
Fired them.
I don't use them anymore, but they were good, and I would recommend them too. But they do good stuff.
Yeah, well, they're okay.
I didn't want to talk bad about them.
No, I'm not talking about, I still use them. I switched, actually, I had half with a local guy and half with Plushie, and I switched them over to Plushie.
I did the exact same thing, but
the opposite. Yeah. Which is totally fine. But I'm working on my portfolio here in Charlotte, and I have properties in Fayetteville. So I wanted one company for all of them. That was like my thought behind it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so because they're not on ground, what I did is, and because there's so many damn Airbnbs now, do you use WhatsApp at all?
Yes, not for like communication with guests or anything like that, but just for random stuff.
And I never communicate with guests. I'm talking about purely communications with with Plushie in general, because there are, hey, the internet's out. Hey, the water heater, whatever, like little issues, or the cleaner will go through and say, hey, we need more coffee or whatever the case is. So I'm not doing it. So I created.
Yeah. And that's why I switched, because I got to that point and I was like, stop texting me about issues.
Yeah, exactly.
The property manager, go manage the property. Don't, you're managing guests and I'm managing the property. I just wanted to not
completely hands off. Totally. So what I did is I have in Fayetteville, like I have my cleaner who I linked up with Plushie, and I was like, this is the girl who's going to be cleaning my property. It's cool. So in WhatsApp, you can create threads for each property, and you can title like with the Airbnb logo, the property name. And then in that thread is the Plushie cleaner, the Plushie folks, my cleaner, and then my assistant who has every Spectrum login. She knows everything. She calls as me all the time she knows the handyman, all the things. And so what they do now is if there's ever an issue, Plushie will contact me in WhatsApp.
Can I just take a pause and say that I need to get an assistant that sounds like me? So he can just call me like, hey, this is Blake. I need this done. Get it done. And just
she's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Awesome.
Amber,
that is like the biggest tip.
I love you.
We're going to make that the quote of the episode right there.
She's literally my hero in so many ways. But yeah, so she's in there. She handles I don't even pay attention when anything happens. She just lets me know afterwards, like, hey, this is what happened. She also pays any invoices that come in. Like she's the one who pays out, lawn care and handyman if they need it, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the WhatsApp thread is what's up though, because if you have anyone texting you, especially if you have 10, 15 Airbnbs and they're texting you, that shit gets buried so fast. And so the point of the WhatsApp is it's only talk about the specific property in that specific thread. And actually I've had all my contractors had to be on WhatsApp, all my agents, of course, like everyone on my team is on WhatsApp. And that's why everything.
So it sounds a lot like what we're doing with Slack. We're doing the same thing for all new properties. Like we have it set up with, each property, each location manager, which is like our in-house kind of property manager for that property. And then they manage the cleaners and everything for that property. And then me as operations manages them. So that's where we put them in our Slack channels and do that same thing. So yeah, I get what you're saying now. And it's been very efficient. We just switched to that. We were kind of doing that like through the Gmail app. It got to be, it's like
so much.
Yeah. Just too many emails. So now it just keeps it in one place. But yeah, I think I always recommend Plushie to people that only have like a few rentals that they're in the area of. So then they have, they have the time to deal with things as they come up. Cause you still have to have people on the ground if you have Plushie, cause they're virtual, but they have really good systems that cover like top level stuff, but you need the on the
exactly. I was like,
people for whatever.
Call me anymore. But it's also good. Like they negotiated. I mean, I got a really good rate for. We got pretty low too. So overall, and now that all the systems were good, everything's fine.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like how that's set up, especially because you've effectively taken yourself out of it to a point where you can keep oversight and step in and adjust and make decisions if needed. But your day to day is not making the menial decisions that aren't really going to affect your top line revenue at all. All those are decisions that other people can handle on your behalf. And then you come in when needed, but you get the full picture, which is really good. And that's what we're still trying to establish. We have a bunch of different properties at different stages. So we're kind of full go all the time, but that's exactly what we want to get to where the people that are taking care of that property, take care of that property. And then are you using any like Airbnb concierges or anything like that are virtual assistants that deal with guests, or is that all Plushie?
Plushie does everything with the guests. Anything that has to be done with the property is Amber. And Amber does my short terms, but she also does my long. So like I just had her coordinate with a long-term property manager.
And she's over the whole thing too. So she knows.
Oh my God, she's on it.
Is this the one that calls as you?
Yeah.
So she's like an extension of you.
She is me.
That's great. What I need.
She like puts stuff on my calendar.
Shelby too out there killing it. Yeah.
Obsessed with her.
That's awesome. So yeah, we're kind of creating all those same processes, but doing it in-house to where Plushie is like our Airbnb concierges that are like in the Philippines. We actually have one guy we just hired that used to work for Airbnb. So he picked right up.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. And I'm actually going to have him help train the other people we hire. Cause once we have all 62 listings up or whatever, it's going to be a scramble. So we're definitely going to need like people around the clock and then our location managers. So, but yeah, we're building all that in-house, which at the beginning is stressful, but once we get to scale, to save.
It'll save so much.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like amazing. Hundreds of thousands a year. So it's necessary because you use that to fuel like more growth and more properties. So
totally.
But I love your systems. What are some tips you've learned managing and implementing all this that might help other people as they're listening?
So I never do the same thing twice. And what I mean by that is if you're going to think through something, if you're going to write out an email, if you're going to think through how to go about attacking a problem, you should never have to think about that again. That is now saved as a future checklist. That is saved as a draft email. That is saved to somewhere. And so that's the only way that like I can do things fast is because I'm like, oh, I did this once. And then I find like 2 seconds, could search and find it. And then I'm like, oh, here we go. And like even sending, stuff to you or sending to whoever out there, it's like, it's all a draft that I've done once. I just change out the name, and then
yeah, I had my assistant set up this. So that's,
exactly.
See there. So yeah, that is, we are getting like me specifically handling operations for the company is getting like, I'm getting obsessive about that. Like if it happens twice, if I see the same inquiry twice, boom, it's creating a draft so that, the concierge or the manager drops that message in and we deal with it. It makes everybody's life more efficient and then they can focus on what they're good at and what they need to be spending their time on rather than going through something that can be systematized. So that is super important. I'm glad you brought that up. And I think you were one of the first people that got me on this last year because I was very much like solopreneur at that point. And you like sent me your Airbnb checklist at the time. You was like, systemize it all. And I was like, all right, here's my challenge. And did that on our personal properties.
You crushed it. You're so good.
Such a big help. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any systems, Shelby. That's awesome. And what I wanted to ask too is how, I guess this is probably, well, maybe on the agent side too, is where you really have to systematize everything. But on the Airbnb side, it's very repetitive. I guess both of them are similar. So how is that whole systemization process and creating redundancy and putting people in place of you to make decisions, how has that kind of contributed to your investing prowess, if you want to call it, as a whole?
It's everything. It really is. It's the people and the systems are everything. Like what else is there in my mind? So just because once you've developed the system, not every person can run the play. So it's the ability to like find people, find their natural strengths and what drives them. That's one of my favorite things, actually, is like talking to people and be like, okay, who are you? What are you into? What fills your cup? I know that's like a link. I say that all the time. I'm like, what fills your cup? Like at the end of the day, when you look back,
you say with enthusiasm like that, it gets them going. What fills your cup?
Well, I want to know. And then it's fun. It's a fun game because then you figure out what makes them happy and you can like help shape their world.
And you put them like in the right seat to go do it well. So we've hired a bunch of people too, or not a bunch, but like 4. And that was also like what's fun for me and like the people side of it and like being the HR manager and then operations changing out the hats, Yeah. But that's the fun stuff. And really without that, bringing it back to where we started, without all that, you're on like the left side of the quadrant, you're self-employed, but without the systems and the people, you can never get to the right side, which is the business owner, which is where you're at and why you're able to do all this different stuff. Cause you have people and systems in place so that you can make decisions and go out and do awesome stuff. And, sell all the houses in North and South Carolina. That's awesome.
Did you use the Myers-Briggs assessment and the DISC assessment? Have you heard of them? Yeah,
we used DISC for all of our new employees. We didn't do Myers-Briggs. I think that's saved in like our operations folder somewhere, but we did do DISC and then talked it all out to say like, all right, this is what you're good at. This is how we're going to like allow you or help you succeed in this position based on that.
Right. No, that's just what I was checking. Making sure there's some sort of.
It was the first iteration of it, so I'm hoping I get better over time. But I think just by listening, to people like you, and then like David Green is a person I listen to a lot because he's very system oriented, like huge selling agent out on the West Coast and the Bay Area, but also buys a ton of investment properties, and it's all because of like the people he puts into place in the system. So
totally.
I just try to take.
And he's a DC on the DISC, if I recall. So if you're tracking,
I think I'm a high D, high I. So what does D like? Doer, like go getter,
the
like
driver.
The driver.
It's the one who's like, let's just go, let's just do it, jump now, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm also that.
Yeah. Are you the same way where you just like go and it's like a boat? You just leave a trail of madness, like the wake gets wider and like all the stuff. And that's what you got to button up.
Yeah.
So that's where I like to partner. That's like my new partner. He keeps my boat wake small, it's like a trail.
No, it's good. That's a good analogy. I like that.
It's like the rocket ship shooting up and the wake gets bigger, but before we transition to the last section of the show here, wanted to get into what does your portfolio look like today? Like, units, kind of where most of your investment's sitting at.
Yeah. So I have 74 doors currently, and it's a mixture of one condo. I have my single families, they all are Airbnbs. I have some duplexes, 7 triplexes, some quads, a 5, a 6, and an 8 unit.
Balling out. And that's cool. I just wanted to touch on that. I was going to kind of back into this and talk about using the systems and partnerships to get there, but I think we hit on all that. So we answered my question before I could ask them. So that's, it's being a good interview. And really the last thing before transition here is, what are you focusing on the rest of 2021? Like you said, you're not trying to buy, but I feel like you're kind of salivating at the mouth for a good deal, kind of like I am.
No, I'm actually not. I'm trying to finish up. I have 2 big-ish renovation projects that are coming to an end. And then what's that?
Like wrapping up everything, making sure everything's
wrapping up those projects. I'm going to finish my ones here in Charlotte. I'm going to optimize everything, make sure everything's a well-oiled machine. And that's like on the investment side of things. And then on the agent side of things, we actually just shifted the structure of our team and opened it up nationwide for our Five Pillars team at EXP. So that's something that I actually I'm like going to create some videos and put it out at the later. So first, look at you. Nice. First to know.
Nice. We'll put it out there for you.
Cool. So the agent side of the house, and we're redirecting instead of so something that we've been doing is we've been working a lot with brand new agents, trying to be okay, I'm going to teach you how to be an agent. And so you can invest and do all these things. And now we're kind of pivoting towards the people who are already crushing it in real estate as an agent, and then hit that realization where it's wow, there's no retirement. There's no light at the end of the tunnel in real estate because you only get money from closing deals. There is no set retirement or anything to look forward to. So taking those powerhouses and helping them redirect that energy into investing. So that way they can build out their financial freedom through the active income raised by their agent life and fueling it right into their passive. So that's kind of our focus as we pivot.
Turn in baller agents into big baller investors.
That's right. That's the whole thing. Because I was realizing like my passion actually isn't teaching the brand new agents. Like I do love when they learn, but real estate agent life has a very high fallout rate. Like,
so it's like you spend your time at the bottom level, you waste a lot of time because they'll fall out. But if you're with the people killing it, they're more likely to stay. So.
Exactly. Well, they're already proven. They've like proven that they have the grit, they have the hustle.
That's a smart pivot on your point, because it gets to the point where like you have to use your time most efficiently because you have all this stuff going on.
Exactly.
So.
Dude, exactly. So, and I think it'll be a lot of fulfillment on both sides. I think it'll really help the agents who, have that passion to pour it into something that will pay out to them permanently. And then also happy for me to not like pour my energy into something that doesn't last. It's more fulfilling all around. And then the last thing that I really want to focus on the rest of this year, which I haven't, is social media. I want to be more focused about putting out YouTube content, which I've never done. And like, it's
so hard to be consistent, like, and match that creative energy that you need when you have so much other stuff going on. I was telling somebody today, I was like, I am doing way too much of my business to like talk about my business right now. I can't find the hour to make that really good video. And I'm just like,
with my pivots though, like with the systems in place and like my assistant really actually asset managing. And then with the pivot in the real estate industry, like I was looking ahead the next couple of months and I will have the time. And I'm so excited. I'm
so jealous because I still have like a full-time job eating up all that other time, but it's all right. I love the Air Force. Thank you, Air Force. It's good for
that was sincere for sure.
It was very sincere. But that's good stuff. I think, starting it now, I'm gonna make the commitment. I'm following your lead, and I'm gonna focus on what's right in front of me and not trying to buy something else. Because I'm like doing deals is like nicotine to me. I'm like, oh man, I gotta get another deal, but we got so much going on. So I'm gonna take your lead, work on what we got going on, and keep killing it like you are. So that's good stuff.
So I recently went to this conference. It was the Real Estate Hackers Conference in Pennsylvania. It was like the first one that I knew of that was back in person. So I went and I met this guy, Rocky, if you're listening ever. And he's an older guy and he's been in the hustle. He's been in the investing. He like has all of his shit and he's so calm. He's watching all of us like hype each other up. And he's just sitting there and he asked me, he's like, why? He's like, is it the fear of missing out? Or is it the fact that you guys think that, having X amount more money will make a big difference in your life? And it was really impactful the way he was saying it. He's like, this one guy was talking about, well, if he only makes $15 million like a month or some shit, it was fucking crazy, as opposed to like 5 million, then he'll have time for his family. And it's like, if you don't have time for your family with $5 million or whatever it was, you're not going to have that at 15.
Yeah. That's like the life in air mentality. You could have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy, like the person that has like 50,000 a year, but they're super happy, has like a better life, that you can make that argument. So I think
I'm with you on that.
I try not to base my like happiness and success metrics on like units or whatever, but more of like what I can do that I like doing. So right now we're so in it that I wish we could like go traveling more. Thankfully we're traveling in a couple of weeks to Tahoe and gonna experience the area some more. My wife hasn't went with me yet, so we're gonna go do that and also work at the same time. But that'll be a good little trip. But I wish we could do more of that. But I'm just trying to grind these next couple of months out so it'll kind of open up the door and we can use what we just created to create the lifestyle. So this whole the whole business sounds like you're the same way. Like all the business, all the deals, all the revenue, like all the passive income comes to fuel a lifestyle that we want for ourselves and our families and to build and give back, and not just like, hey, I want to be 100 millionaire. Like
exactly. Cause it's like, why?
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you.
That's good stuff. What a great way to end it off and then transition to the last section of the show, the
Fortune 5.
All right, Shelby, this is the Fortune 5, the 5 questions I ask every investor at the end of the show. And this is good stuff. So we're starting off strong here. Actually, the second one is getting into the weeds. But the first one, what's the biggest thing that has contributed to your success?
The people around me Truly. And I didn't even realize that until recently. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And everyone probably has heard that. And it's so true. Yeah. So
well, people hear it, but then they don't implement it. And man, like when you get in the right mastermind groups and stuff, it's powerful. It really is.
It changes the game for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that.
That's huge. Second one, this is probably my favorite one because it's just different. What's been your biggest mistake so far that's turned into a learning lesson? Opening the box here.
That's hard. It would be a balance between my first partnerships getting in early, but I learned so much. Yeah, I learned so much from it. I don't regret it, but partners is tricky. I guess let's just go with that one.
Bad partnerships or not doing your diligence up front.
Well, and it's like, you don't know yourself either until you're in those. It's kind of like with relationships. Like you don't know until you've experienced it. And then you're like, I'm not doing that again.
You just go get married. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. So
there you go, guys. Go date your partners.
Oh gosh.
What is your favorite book you'd recommend to someone starting out?
I love Miracle Morning Millionaires by Hal Elrod and David Osborne.
Miracle Morning Millionaires.
It changed the game, but it's obviously like, so I've heard people have different impactful books, but it's like whatever you read when you need it most. And I really needed it most, but it's changed. And I still to this day, like implement almost daily what you do in the morning that are talked about in that book, and that mindset about money and changing, like it changed my world. So
yeah, that's good. I still wake up at 4:15 every morning too. And I think it started with reading the Miracle Morning. I was like, oh yeah, this could be helpful. And then I read the Miracle Morning Millionaire and I was like, man, this is why you do it. And it's like setting your whole mindset around your growth and your direction and your path and your goals. And you started out early before anybody else is up, before you do anything else. So it's like the most important thing in the morning. And yeah, that's huge. I'm right there with you. So I like that.
Cool.
What do you like to do outside of real estate?
Oh my gosh. So I really like creative things. I like artsy things. I've taken salsa. I just got a piano. I'm going to learn piano. Anything that's like creative, that also, I like things that include my brain and my body. Like that's what I like, piano, and I like salsa. What?
Like music?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, you have to think, but your body has to function as like an extension of your brain, and it's challenging and I love it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's a good answer. I've not heard that one yet, but I tried doing guitar before because of that, and I like playing guitar, but I just sucked at it so bad. And I was like, all right, I got to put it up. It's still sitting over there. I'll play it one day. All right, Shelby, last question. Where can people find out more about you or connect with you?
On Instagram, Real Estate with Shelby Osborne. Facebook, same, Real Estate with Shelby. 5pillars.com, 5pillarsrealty.com. Wow, that was bad. And that's really it. Just Instagram, Facebook, website.
I'm going to go give you the follow right after this on Instagram. So that's good stuff. And
yeah, damn right.
Yeah, just want to say thanks for coming on the show. This is really good stuff. You brought the energy tonight on a Monday evening. So that's awesome. I think this is going to be a great show, and just the value provided from, the real estate sales side to the investment, like the whole thing. Appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Until next time.
All right. We're out of here. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like the show, if you found value in it, please go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. And if you want to check out more on your multifamily journey, go to multifamilyjourney.com, where you can get free resources to start your journey and figure out your path. That's multifamilyjourney.com. But more importantly, go take action today towards your financial future. See you next time.